Howdy folks, I've been doing a lot of rum tasting here on the channel lately, but it is still a cocktail channel, and so today I'm going to continue my sherry explorations. Today we got an Oloroso sherry. I'm going to tell you all about it. We'll talk a little bit about how it's made. I got a couple of fun drinks to try. Let's go. The sherry in question is this El Maestro Sierra Oloroso 15 year. Now, I don't know exactly what this 15 year refers to because we know sherry is made in a Solera system where they transfer the wine from one barrel to the next. But what I think it means is that any wine in this bottle has spent a minimum of 15 years in barrels. So, because they transfer it out, they swap one to the next, and there should be some much older sherry in there, but the minimum must be 15 years. That's all I can figure. Now, you might be asking, what is Oloroso? Well, it is a Palomino grape, which is the same as a Fino, but with Fino, they let a floor form on top of the wine, which at the floor is the yeast. It's a bed of yeast and whatnots that block oxygen from getting to the wine as it's aging. So Fino is an unoxidized aging process, but for Oloroso, they fortify the wine a little higher so that yeast can't form. That yeast that kills the yeast that would normally form, and so Oloroso is an oxidized wine. It undergoes oxidative aging, as they say. It says it right here on the bottle. Dry wine aged in American oak casks by oxidative aging. This is 19% alcohol, by the way. I got it at the grocery store, the fancy grocery near my house. I think it was $20, something like that. And a $3.75, which is a little bit expensive, but I think it's worth it to get good sherry for your cocktail. So this is a fully oxidized wine, which should mean that it should last a little longer in the fridge than, say, a Fino, which might get some off flavors if you're sensitive to that sort of thing due to oxidation, but since this is already oxidized, that's not really a thing. Anyway, you might wonder how that affects the flavor, so let's give it a taste. Obviously, much darker than a Fino. Finos are much, much lighter. Just super nutty on the nose. And just a slight raisiny or like caramely kind of aroma as well. Let's give it a taste. Very dry. Super dry, super nutty. I want to say it's like a little bit more complex than Fino. That's not right. Fino is like brighter. It's like up here when you taste it, and this is a little bit down low. And sometimes you might think of sherry as going from like dry to sweet, where Fino is very dry and PX is very sweet. PX is very sweet, but this is theoretically partway along the scale, but it isn't sweet. Let's just get that out of the way. Very, very dry. And nutty, super nutty. Sherries are just so good. The sherry would be great to dry out your cocktail a little bit while adding some nice nutty flavor. Delicious. Now, I'm going to make two cocktails for you today. The first is a very simple, classic, and classy drink. It's called the Adonis. You've probably heard of it. It is just sweet vermouth and Oloroso sherry. Let's mix it up. All right, we did it. We got our Adonis cocktail right here. I just dropped the garnish. That is fine. I mean, it's definitely a lot of sherry. It's very sherry, but it's the dryness, the dry nuttiness meshes really nicely with the sweet vermouth. It's an easy breezy kind of wine-based cocktail. It's a little sour, maybe. It gets a little acidic, I guess, from the two wine combo, but I mean, very easy drinking. And, you know, equal parts cocktail means Of course, you probably know this. You can alter it, you can scale it down really easily. So, you know, I made this 1 ounce of each, and I could fit it into this tiny glass that I happen to have. And, you know, that's fun. Adonis, classy, lightweight sipper. Love it. Now, the second drink I've got to show you is also an equal parts. I was poking around on Cocktail Virgin, as I like to do, and I found this one from 2007. It's called The Mouse's Tale. This is from a Lewis Carroll-themed cocktail book called Through the Cocktail Glass, and it's a twist on the tailspin. The tailspin is a twist on the bijou. It's a bijou, which, if you don't know, is green chartreuse, gin, and sweet vermouth. But the tailspin adds in a rinse of Campari into the glass. Now our drink, the Mouse's Tail, keeps that Campari rinse, switches out sweet vermouth for Oloroso sherry. Now I tried this as Frederick Yarm had done with Beefeater and green chartreuse and this Oloroso sherry that I have, and I did not like it. I thought it was too sharp. It wasn't sweet enough. I think I'm losing faith in Beefeater. They lowered the proof in the last few years, and I don't know, it wasn't working for me. I also thought the green chartreuse really took over. So what I decided to do was make a couple of swaps. I put in the Botanist instead of Beefeater, because that's a very good Scottish, you know, London dry style gin. But I also swapped in Boomsma for green chartreuse. You might remember Boomsma Cloosterbitter from the green chartreuse substitute video I did a while back. It's a little sweeter, it's lower proof, but it tastes delicious. I thought I would see how that went in this drink, and it goes pretty good. So let's mix that up. The Mouse's Tail. Now you're supposed to do like a long peel and twist it up and put it on the glass as like the tail of the mouse. I decided to not do that, so let's give this a taste. I love that. That is really nice herbal. The sherry doesn't take over, but it adds a nice sort of nutty mid palate to the whole thing. It's a little sweeter than that first version, and you know, I do like my drinks a little bit sweeter. This actually reminds me a bit, in a weird way, of this other drink called the Poet's Dream, which is gin, dry vermouth, and Benedictine, and it's got that same kind of herbal vibe to me, you know, sort of a classy stirred herbal drink. Yeah. I love this. This is really good. Now, I do find a lot of times that sherry in cocktails tends to take over and be a little too much for me, for one, you know, just for me. But in this application, I think it's turning out really good. Anyway, I hope that was fun and or informative. I really like this sherry, this El Maestro Sierra. It comes from a distributor called Maison Selections, Des Maison Selections. Anything you find from them is awesome, and I can't recommend enough getting good sherry instead of, like, you know, Lustau's fine, you know, Gonzalez Bias is fine, but these big producers, they're not as fun. They're not as good, and there's not as much care is put into each bottle, I think. So anyway, that's my recommendation. Get good sherry. If there's anything you want me to try, put it down in the comments. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.